Hey, what's going on, everybody? So we are back for another spoiler review for Welcome to Derry. If you have not seen episode 4, go and check out the episode, then come back because we're going to be going and talking some loose spoilers for this episode. But if you want to see our non-spoiler thoughts on the episode, that is available right now, coming off of the first 3 episodes. But episode 4, we're about to get into it. What's going on, Bizzy? What's going on, Drill?
What's up, man?
What's up, guys? So,
I'm here, man.
the last episode, which is episode 3, they thought they had the evidence. They thought they had the photos. They were taking it to the police station. They were going and doing their thing. Everything seemed fine. Then they get to the police station. The guy was like, I don't see anything. So all the different pictures of their dead friends were just completely erased. They did not know what to say. And not only that, basically, he was like, look, little girl, if you say something else, you're going to go right back to this loony bin. Y'all better shut the hell up. So there was one other photo left, and it was of Pennywise. And it, for whatever reason, they couldn't get him to even try to consider it. So Will's dad, Will goes back and talks to his mom about it, and he snitches. But his mom's like, look, don't worry about it. I'm not going to tell your dad. It's fine. And he tries to go and listen to his mom. But long story short, within an altercation with his dad and with the mom, Will has this unfortunate situation where he gets scared too. And he goes in, let me go back. His dad goes and decides to try to get him away and takes him fly fishing out into the woods. And he goes and leaves him for a second, and Will gets pulled under. And we know what's pulling him under, but what we see is a burned version of his dad, and we find out that that's Will's worst fear. The problem with that is when that happened, the dad noticed something happening, and he sees this balloon kind of shifting around. And that's not the first time something happens, because Will had saw something outside of his door, and his dad goes out into the yard, tries to figure out what's going on, and there's another balloon. So the dad knows something going on. So in this episode, this is the first time we have Leroy that is really noticing that something evil is in the town. How did you guys feel about that? And just Will having to be a part of it, unfortunately.
So, I think that whole sequence was crazy, and I think the better part is just Will's dad being aware of kind of the craziness and having an idea and what's really going on. And I think the whole thing about this episode that I really enjoyed was, although he's questioning his son's sanity, he's also questioning his, and he's also trying to figure out like okay, what the hell did he actually see? Because he's realizing that like his son might not be wrong, and after what he's seen, he's doing the right thing by questioning it. So it's just really been interesting to see kind of how he kind of handled the situation instead of just being like, oh, off to Juniper Hill with you as well. Like he's like, hey, like, nah, this isn't normal. And because of his knowledge, like knowing that the scratches didn't seem like they were, self-inflicted or whatever the case is, like it seemed like he was asking all the right questions. So I did like that little change instead of, because it's always the case where the kids see it and then the parents are just like, oh, like you're crazy, stop.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just, I did like that.
Yeah. Jarrell, any thoughts on what Will's going through, what Leroy's going through at the same time?
Not really, but I mean, it was interesting. I don't have any really like in-depth thoughts on it apart from trying to think of something clever to say, but I don't have it.
What was your
I mean,
reaction when you saw the balloon kind of float on by?
I mean, it's a great sequence. Like when Will was almost like undertaken in the current, like by the
Yeah,
illusion of his father and the red balloon moment you're talking about. I mean, it was a great horror imagery. It was probably literally the main thing that I remembered from the episode. To be honest with you, definitely stood out. But I don't know. It was good. I don't have anything like crazy.
I think it speaks a lot, like seeing how afraid Will was kind of his dad, and kind of for him to question that and talk about it later on was pretty insane. Because this episode had a lot of stuff kind of go on. We also had some stuff with is it Lily? I believe her name is.
Mhm.
Her, like, of course, that whole conversation with all of them talking about him drowning in the first place, but then it leading to her trying to give Marge another chance at school. That was a lot. That was a crazy, crazy moment.
Yeah,
She
that's gonna be its own part of this whole conversation because that
Oh
was
wait, was this the episode with the eyes, or was that last?
Nah, that's this episode, my boy.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Okay, fuck. Unfortunately, 3 and 4 are kind of just fused together.
Nah,
in
nah,
my
I
mind.
feel that. That's why I wanted to jog your memory because I know me and you were both like we were shooketh. You know?
Okay, I think that's where my notes accidentally got deleted.
Okay, yeah, no, I totally get it. But yeah, the whole sequence with Marge. Marge is, seeming genuine at times, but then she is a straight up, she's a snake. And we
yeah.
see that time and time again, with them trying to play little pranks on Lily. But luckily they didn't get to get. Now I don't know if I would say luckily, but they didn't get to go that far with the prank. And we saw Marge's like cartoon eyes kind of come out of her head, and I don't know how.
Yeah.
I know they get
Well,
really brutal when it comes to children, but like,
well, I wasn't gonna go down this route yet. Because that's the last part of the episode.
oh, is it okay? Okay, my
Yeah.
fault.
What I'll say is that as far as the brutalization of these kids, I think we've barely scratched the surface. This is only the 4th episode, and I think there's like a total of like 9 episodes in the season. So they do not care about mutilating, hurting, torturing kids because what they found out in this episode, what Will had ascertained from talking with the group, is he's like, it's almost as though not only does it make itself our fears, but it feeds off of it. And so what he was able to surmise is that maybe it's buttering the person up until it's fat enough with something that it wants to grab. And so from his perspective, it's like, how do we counter something like that? And it's almost impossible to kind of figure that out. But that's when they came up with the medication. So they decided, okay, well, if we aren't afraid, like chemically, then maybe we can kind of keep ourselves safe. And that's kind of what led us into what happened at the end. But we'll get there in a second. One thing I did want to point out was that when Will told his mom about what happened, and the mom is a freedom fighter, like she's all about like making sure that things from an equality standpoint are right, but at the same time she's putting her family at risk doing it like that. And so she goes down to the cell and tries to figure out like what happened to the dad for real. And I knew for a fact that, we found out that he wasn't at the home with the mom. We knew he wasn't at the theater because otherwise he would have tried to protect his daughter. But we knew that he wasn't placed at the scene of the crime, but he's also lying about it. And so when she was, trying to figure it out, he basically was like, look, man, I was with somebody. I was with a girl, and that's what happened. She's like, it's deeper than that. Why are you more afraid to talk about that than you being at the scene of a murder of kids? And he basically said, look, man, I was with a Caucasian woman, and if they find out about this, I'm not just going to get buried underneath the jail. They're going to hang me, because during that time, like, interracial relationships will cost you your life, or worse, like you will get castrated. The evils that are with Pennywise sometimes would fail to compare like people's prejudice. And I think he was right. He did the right thing, but he doesn't know how to get out of it. Like, and she putting herself in the line of fire, even in that situation, even if that is for Will's friend. Like, I think she would have did that because she wants to feel useful. And now it's a deeper, darker situation. And I think that coming off the last episode, it adds more to these characters. But it's kind of an impossible situation. But I love how real that is. Back in that time frame, that absolutely would have happened.
Yeah, this is like I think within 10 years of Emmett Till.
Correct.
So there's just so much weight to it. And on top of that, like as much as he could come forward, so could, the white woman. But at the end of the day, we know that's not going to happen. So it's just a really crazy situation where it's, even if he does end up walking free, shit might still hit the fan.
Damned
So
if you do, damned if you don't.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that was one corner that I wanted to kind of bring up. And then the other thing was, which is technically truly the end of the episode, was Dick. So Dick, we know that he is a telepath. Like he can get into people's minds, he can do certain things. And now it's a situation where he was, he got his new barracks and everything worked out for him and his crew, but he goes and walks around and he sees his grandmother or his mother, and she basically is warning him like, yeah, don't say nothing. Don't say anything. I still think that might be Pennywise in his head trying to keep him from doing anything, but I could see where from an ancestor standpoint her maybe trying to protect him. So I don't know. It's a 50-50 what's really going on with him. But either way, Pennywise is on his radar, because during that same exact moment, that was when Leroy rolled up and was like, look, yo, something is trying to get my kid. And he was like, what do you want me to do about it? You need to stay out of this. And so when Leroy came up to Dick and basically saying like, look, I need answers because I don't know if I can even protect my children from this. Even though my cortex keeps me from dealing with fear, I also am understanding that there's a life-threatening situation. So how did you guys feel about that? Now it's like a coming to Jesus moment, technically, for him and his family.
What did you say the character's name was? Dick?
Leroy. Leroy is Will's dad.
Yeah, this actually brings up a completely separate point from what you're making, but like I need like a character guide for this show. I've been like hunting for one, and like one doesn't exist. Like where it's cast members, and we can see like pictures of the cast members corresponding to said character. That does not exist for some reason, at least not satisfactorily. So I'm still getting a lot of these names jumbled around. But anyway, you're trying to talk about Leroy?
Mm-hmm. Leroy went up to Dick. Dick is the telepath that he had already confronted at his house the other day. But in this episode, he went out to the barracks where he was at and said, hey, my son almost got like legit drowned by something that resembled me.
Right. And what's your question? Just what we thought at that moment?
Yeah, I mean, just their social commentary, because Leroy just a second, was dealing with that, but Dick was just seeing his dead grandmother or aunt or mother warning him as well. So it's two handful what's going on.
I mean, it was a good creepy moment, that's for sure. I'm not entirely sure where all this is going because I don't have like a I don't how many how much time has passed between like events of the 2017 film and this show? Like, what's the gap in time?
This takes place in 1968.
I thought it was 2. Am I tripping?
Well, it might be 62, but
you see
everything that was going in 2017 was still in the 80s. It's still like more than 30 or 20 something years later, so it doesn't really matter.
Interesting.
So all the kids that are here now would be parents or adults in the 2017, which is the younger cast. Anyway, moving forward. The other thing, I guess, leading into what Bizzy was talking about is, unfortunately, for the kids, their plan to try to keep themselves awake presents an actual problem. Like, at what time are they going to get attacked? Because from Will's perspective, Pennywise at any moment could just kill them, but instead he wants to scare them into being something that would be food for him, sustenance. And so he goes and tries to go and kind of just act normal, but the girl, she loves to be there for her friends, and unfortunately, old girl with the glasses, she just wants to be a part of the patty cakes, and she'll do whatever she got to do that. So the patty cakes go and try to present this weird prank to get her there, to have her go to an event with the guy and try to embarrass her through these different courses of events. And she tried to go through with it. Well, old girl goes to the bathroom. She had to go to the bathroom, and Four Eyes goes in there with her, and she basically was about to confess, like, hey, I did you dirty. Like, I'm setting you up. But instead, what starts to happen, her freaking eyes start to poke out of their sockets. Now, earlier in the episode, they were seeing, and I swear this is straight from Uzumaki, because this actually did happen in Uzumaki anime and the manga, which is terrifying. They were looking at these snails that have these eyes that kind of protrude out.
Yep.
And this poor girl, her eyes pop out so much they break out of the socket of her glasses, and they just continue to push out. And so she can't see, she's freaking out. And girl was trying to get the pill. She dropped the pill in the gas during toilet, and she tries to fish it out. I don't know why she would think it, because at that point, if it's in the toilet, it was going to dissolve anyway. So she tries to get it out. Girl's running and frantic. She's trying to stop them from growing. And so now she's resorting to try to cut them off. And I ain't gonna lie, from a gore standpoint, this joint's crazy. Like, I mean, she tries to go and put it through a saw. She tries to go and peck it out with cleavers. And the way that it all ended up, it looked like, our main character, it looked like she had did this to her friend. And I feel so bad for this girl, because in the opening intros, you see somebody is in the insane asylum getting like lobotomized. And I swear, if that happens to this girl, like I don't know if I can ever rewatch this show. But as far as the setup for her and with her friend and the gore factor of that, how did you guys take that?
It was a lot, dude. I mean, I think it's always a little less traumatizing for me when like it's just visibly like CG'd. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just like it just makes it more like interesting to see how they're gonna handle the crazy sequences like that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It felt very cartoonish, which again isn't a bad thing. But it was just so interesting to see how they were handling it, and then just the way her eyes were like flopping around and but yeah, eventually with Lily being or looking like the bad guy here, it was like a whole thing, and immediately I felt so bad for this child, and we know that it's going to be really, really interesting going into the next episode, seeing what they end up doing to her when they lock her away. Marge, of course, is probably if she is sane enough to talk, can't imagine she's going to end up like saying what actually happened. She'll just end up backing up. She'll end up just throwing Lily under the bus, and it's gonna be a mess. But I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, if she survives, like no matter what she says, it's gonna sound crazy. Like it'll sound. She will sound more crazier than our main character. So
yeah, no, it was definitely the highlight of the episode, at least from what I can remember. It did seem that it was mostly handled with CGI. It definitely would have been nicer to see like a blend of practical and CGI, or just practical. Wish that's how it came across, but it still was an effective moment, sort of the moment where she's caught red-handed by the crowd. I thought was a great heartbreaker moment, I suppose. Yeah, like I said, I thought it was highlight the episode for me. It just went completely fucking insane out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I think that in this happening to a person that's indirectly affecting her, it shows that could have been her mom. That could have been anybody that's connected with any of them. And I feel like what could happen if Pennywise feels like he can't get them because of these drugs, it could be Will's mom, right? It could be, it could be any of the people that are connected to them. Heck, the black girl's got a grandmother. Like at the moment they did that, it showed me he's going to do whatever he has to do to get them by any means necessary. Even if somebody he don't even care about trying to get or scare, he's going to affect them in that way. Because what in doing it like this, it's making her being put in a place of isolation. She's going to get right back. They're going to put her right back in that same hole. And I mean, Bizzy had said it, like the person that works there was giving her all these feed-in advice, like, no, do this, tell your truth, I believe you. And she's gonna be the same person that's probably gonna electroshock this girl, to be honest. Like it's it feels like a ploy. It feels like a setup that Pennywise is pushing. He's pushing the narrative truly. The other thing that happened in this episode was probably the last part of this was when the general basically decides he's going to let the other Native American kids that are outside the facility, he's going to let them in. Now, we didn't know why, didn't know how. We do know that Will's mom had visited a Native American woman and kind of asked questions about the town and what's really going on and what her son had seen. And later, Native Nelly let him know, Rose let him know, or let her know, I don't think that you need to distance yourself from this. You need to stay close to them. You need to stay close to your kids and figure out what's actually going on. She could have told her the whole truth, but she didn't. But she told her enough. And so what they transitioned to was that the general had Rose's, I don't know if that's Rose's nephew or if that's her son. I don't know. But he had him locked up and he hadn't been talking. So we find out that Dick and the way his powers work, he can truly invade somebody's mind if he wanted to. So on direct contact with his head or whatever he was doing with his head, he pushed into this boy's brain and went into his memory. And then this is the first time, the true first time, we get the full history of Pennywise, which is why I wanted us to make sure we did this review now, because that history and everything about that is going to be paramount to the next episode where we're going to go, because it goes down and breaks of how Pennywise landed, what happened, what he affected, how he first started showing up as a moose or somebody that it was looking like somebody else's fear. And the way that the story kind of progressed and was told, like, it gave Dick all the information he needed up until it's like, well, where exactly is it? And so that was when the end of the episode, they go through a door and it shows exactly where to be able to find Pennywise, which is the most dangerous thing that they could do. But the fact that we got a whole history lesson that the Native Americans there have been telling and passing down over the years was really pivotal. I'm probably take this episode in the context of this episode to go back to the 2017 and the 2018 part 2, because it leaves the full foundation of what is all happening. And we had never gotten any of this information before up until this episode. So this episode for me was really important, very strategic, very heavy-handed, before I go into just all the action and the gore of where Pennywise is going to take it. Like, we needed the context of all of it. But for me, this is a really strong episode. I mean, I give this like an A all day. But I'm gonna let them give their thoughts about how Dick's invasion of this man's mind was, and then closing thoughts on the episode and rating. Go ahead, Bizzy.
So truly, I think the first half of the show has been amazing. This episode had its times where I was like, okay, like, are we gonna pick it up? But then it ends up throwing like a curve at us and gives us a crazy ass sequence, such as the eyeball scene. I think this episode was between a B plus and A minus. It's been fantastic. So I am really looking forward to seeing what they do next. I know our boy Joro wants to see the clown, so I am excited for that, but I'm really, really excited to see more of the creative ways that they do some of these gruesome moments, because they're going all out. So I am looking forward to it.
And what was your rating? Sorry.
Oh, I said A plus, between an A minus and B plus.
Bet. Jarrell, closing thoughts.
I mean, this was a major thing that got deleted out of my notes. There was this moment where they said something like it was like 4 million years ago. This rock like landed on Earth.
Oh yeah.
Spread the spirits. So it's like, wait, pause, because basically these entities. I have written this down too, so now it's gone. But whatever they called the spirits or spirits, like, initially came from this rock, the natives. It's like this would appear to be the origins of Pennywise, but that's just so fucking bizarre, because they were initially saying that this rock landed like 4 fucking million years ago. And then they took like a shard from it and became like this dagger, and that became this whole thing, or ethos. And I think they said that they had to do all this.
Yeah, they had to take
They had to break the 13 shards and buried it.
They took the 13 shards and surrounded it around the vicinity of where he's at so that he could not get out. But the last thing that the Native American kids showed them was a house that has a tunnel to get to where he's at. Not sure.
So we don't specifically know when he got out?
We don't know when he got out, but based on what they gave, which is a house, underneath that house is a tunnel to get to where he's at.
Gotcha.
But yeah, the shards, I mean, that was actually, I didn't want to bring it up because I didn't know how much y'all remembered it. But there was a war chief that was there, and she was trying to protect her daughter. She was trying to do what she had to do. And Pennywise confronted her. I mean, literally, like, was trying to steal her soul and you know, killed her with their own shard. But the daughter, you know, laid the foundation and put it around the vicinity and kept Pennywise in there from that same fragmented shard. But they had to go back in and get the shards from the pieces of where he landed. So, but yeah, it's, again, this episode really is the history of Pennywise in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Which I guess this might be where I sort of disagree. But I don't know. From what we know from Pennywise, I kind of like the ambiguity. I don't really need like a laundry list of explanations behind the creature. I guess technically speaking, there will always be questions, I suppose, but I don't know. I don't mind ambiguity, but the answers we've gotten have been fun though. So I'll give them that, and it has been interesting up until this point. But I am ready for the ramping off into full blown this. So again, I would also give this episode like an 8 out of 10. I feel uncomfortable going any higher, especially since it's like in general the replay value has been fine. The only part of the story so far that's felt essential is the first episode, and maybe an honorable mention to this episode. So, yeah, I'm feeling an 8 out of 10 on it. Another great time, but curiously, the first episode is still superior.
Yeah. Well, you guys, you heard it here first. This is our dissection of episode 4, Spoiler Field. We'll be back for episode 5 very soon. I don't know where Bizzy just went. I'm not sure why I'm up there. But Bizzy, where can everybody find your content?
Bizzy Braun everywhere and over here dropping reviews.
Appreciate it. Jarrell, where can everybody find your content?
Jarrell's Alexandria. It's my main hub on YouTube. You can find me there. Bang.
Cool beans. You guys, we will be back and we'll talk to you guys soon on episode 5. Peace, y'all.
Filing out the top of I can see the skyline, 50 mile radius on my timeline. Ain't nothing on my mind.